Throughout history, the Stoics were masters of human observation. They believed that our bodies hold powerful clues about our character, emotions, and desires, including women's bodies. By paying attention to subtle details, we might uncover surprising psychological insights that challenge common assumptions. In today's episode, we're diving into the fascinating psychology behind certain physical traits, focusing on women's bodies and what they might reveal about deeper truths. But before we jump in, make sure to stick around till the end. You won't want to miss these insights. And if you enjoy content like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Alright, let's get into it. Chapter 1. The meaning behind a small nose. Have you ever noticed how women with smaller noses often carry a certain distinct charm? While it might sound unusual, some believe that the size of a woman's nose could be linked to other aspects of her body, especially when it comes to intimacy. This belief, although lacking firm scientific backing, has persisted through history, sparking curiosity and debate. The Stoics, keen observers of both human behavior and biology, likely saw the nose as more than just a facial feature. To them, it could have been a key to understanding health, vitality, and even personality traits. From an evolutionary standpoint, a smaller nose is often seen as a distinctly feminine trait. Societies throughout history have associated it with delicacy, refinement, and even an air of mystery. But here's where things get even more intriguing. Some cultures believe that a smaller nose hints at a more refined or petite, intimate anatomy. This idea stems from the broader notion that smaller physical features symbolize elegance, subtlety, and grace. Of course, these associations are deeply rooted in cultural perceptions rather than scientific fact. Different societies have different beauty ideals, and what one culture prizes, another might overlook. In many places, a small nose has been linked to notions of beauty and sophistication, with the belief that it reflects an overall delicate and refined physique. But here's the catch: bodies don't always fit neatly into predefined categories. While humans love finding patterns to make sense of attraction and relationships, real-life physical traits don't always align with these age-old assumptions. The Stoics would likely remind us to observe without rushing to conclusions. Just because a woman has a small nose doesn't mean she fits into any particular mold. At the end of the day, our fascination with physical correlations, whether true or not, says more about our psychology than it does about objective reality. People seek patterns in attraction, hoping to decode the mysteries of human connection. And while details like a small nose might play into cultural beauty standards, the truth is, attraction is far more complex than any single physical trait. So, what do you think? Do you believe physical features hold deeper meanings, or are these just myths carried through time? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And stay tuned, there are 6 more fascinating chapters ahead that might just change how you see the world. What your physical features reveal about you, according to psychology and history. When it comes to beauty, perceptions are constantly shifting. But one feature that has long been associated with femininity and refinement: a small nose. In modern times, media and cultural beauty standards, especially in Western societies, have amplified the appeal of a small, button-like nose. It's often linked to a delicate, graceful appearance, and by extension, some believe it reflects a similarly refined, intimate anatomy. But is there any truth to this idea, or is it just another beauty myth? The role of symmetry in attraction. If we zoom out and look at the bigger picture, the nose plays a crucial role in facial symmetry, a key factor in how we perceive attractiveness. Psychological studies suggest that the more symmetrical a face, the more aesthetically pleasing it appears. Since a small nose can contribute to that symmetry, it naturally enhances the perception of beauty. Some take this even further, believing that refined facial features hint at similarly refined traits elsewhere in the body. But before we jump to conclusions, let's take a step back. The Stoic perspective: look beyond the surface. The Stoics, renowned for their deep understanding of human nature, would likely remind us that beauty standards are fluid and subjective. What one culture idolizes, another might not even notice. And while it's tempting to draw connections between physical traits, the human body is far too complex to fit into neat categories. In reality, every woman is unique. While cultural and psychological factors may lead us to make certain assumptions, true understanding requires looking beyond surface-level observations. The idea that a small nose signifies a delicate, intimate anatomy is more about cultural beliefs than scientific fact. So, rather than relying on outdated myths, let's appreciate the beauty of individuality, because no single feature can define an entire person. Chapter 2: The Meaning Behind Delicate Hands. Now, let's move on to another fascinating physical trait: hands. Throughout history, delicate hands have been seen as a symbol of elegance, grace, and refinement. Women with smaller, more delicate hands are often associated with gentleness and femininity. But some believe that hand size might also hint at other refined physical characteristics, including intimate anatomy. Again, there's no scientific proof behind this idea, but it continues to appear in cultural beliefs and psychological folklore. The human mind loves finding patterns, even where none exist, and that's especially true when it comes to attraction. Hands as a reflection of character. From a Stoic perspective, hands are more than just physical features. They're tools through which we shape the world. The way we use our hands can reveal a lot about our personality, habits, and even mindset. Smaller hands, some argue, might suggest a more delicate or restrained approach to life, perhaps a sign of mindfulness or careful precision. But when it comes to body correlations, should we really read too much into hand size? The bigger picture. At the end of the day, physical traits like hand size are just one tiny piece of the puzzle. While some may believe that smaller hands correspond to a more refined body structure, real-life examples often prove otherwise. Each woman's body is unique, and making broad assumptions based solely on one feature can be misleading. So, instead of overanalyzing, maybe the real takeaway here is to embrace the individuality of every person, because attraction, beauty, and personality are far more complex than any single trait. What your hands say about you, more than you think. Hands are more than just physical features, they tell a story. A woman with delicate hands might give off an air of grace and reserve, but that doesn't necessarily mean she's timid or passive. In fact, hands are one of the most expressive parts of the body, revealing confidence, emotion, and even desire through subtle movements. Think about it, whether someone is hands-on and active or prefers a softer, more reserved approach to life, their hands often give them away. The way a woman gestures, holds an object, or even places her hands while talking can say a lot about her personality. Hands as a symbol of restraint and desire. For a woman who hasn't experienced physical intimacy in a long time, her hands may carry an unspoken meaning. They might symbolize the patience and self-restraint she's practiced over time, the balance between longing for connection and maintaining personal space. Ever notice how a woman moves her hands during a conversation? Whether she's expressive and open or keeps them close to her body can reveal her comfort level and emotional state. Pay attention to the little things: a slight touch on your arm, a brush of her fingers against yours, or even how she holds an object. These tiny gestures often communicate more than words ever could. Some women unconsciously express attraction or interest through small, delicate movements. A fleeting touch, a lingering pause before pulling away. These are subtle cues that can speak volumes. But, as the Stoics would remind us, observation is key, not assumption. Reading between the lines. While hands can offer insight into a woman's emotions and personality, they're just one piece of the puzzle. No single trait can define an entire person. The best way to truly understand someone: pay attention, listen, and let their actions and words tell the full story. In the end, A woman's hands, like her heart, will reveal their truth in their own time and in their own way. Chapter 3. The meaning behind gap teeth. There's something undeniably captivating about a woman with gap teeth. This distinct trait has long been surrounded by cultural beliefs, folklore, and, interestingly, assumptions about intimate features. Dating back to ancient times, some have linked gap teeth to smaller intimate anatomy, making it a curious topic of discussion across different cultures. But is there any real connection, or is this just another beauty myth? The Stoic perspective, finding meaning in small details. The Stoics were masters of observation, always looking for patterns in human nature. While they may not have endorsed the idea that gap teeth correlate with intimate traits, they would have understood why people are drawn to finding meaning in small details. It's human nature to seek connections between physical features and deeper characteristics, even when the science doesn't back it up. Why the fascination? So, where did this belief come from? It likely stems from a broader cultural obsession with symmetry. Many studies suggest that symmetrical facial features are subconsciously associated with attractiveness and health. Since gap teeth break that symmetry, they stand out, sparking curiosity and, in some cases, assumptions about what they might reveal about a person. But as with any physical trait, gap teeth are just one part of a much bigger picture. They don't define someone's personality, attractiveness, or anything beyond what they are. A unique and beautiful feature that adds character. Gap teeth, the unexpected symbol of confidence and intrigue. In many cultures, a perfectly aligned smile is considered the gold standard of beauty. But gap teeth, they challenge that norm, creating a striking contrast that catches the eye and sparks curiosity. This unique feature has led some to wonder, could it hint at other uncommon traits within the body, including intimate anatomy? Historically, smaller and more delicate features have been linked to refinement, control, and femininity. Since gap teeth create a break in facial symmetry, they naturally stand out. And human nature loves what's rare. When we see something unique, our minds instinctively start making connections, sometimes even jumping to conclusions about what else might be different. The psychology behind the fascination. There's something undeniably intriguing about a feature that deviates from the norm. Gap teeth are a rarity, and rarity often equals allure. This is where the old belief comes in, the idea that a woman with gap teeth might also have similarly delicate, smaller intimate anatomy. Of course, there's no science behind this claim, but that hasn't stopped people from speculating for generations. The Stoics, known for their sharp observation of human nature, would likely remind us to appreciate individuality rather than get lost in assumptions. After all, every woman, whether she has gap teeth or not, is unique in her own way, and physical traits alone can't define a person's essence. From folklore to modern beauty standards, today, gap teeth have become a symbol of confidence and individuality. Many women embrace them as part of their signature look, proving that beauty isn't about fitting into a mold. It's about owning what makes you different. While old myths may still linger, they hold little weight in a world that celebrates diversity over conformity. At the end of the day, the supposed link between gap teeth and intimate anatomy is just another cultural curiosity, an example of how humans love finding patterns, even where none exist. A smile, whether perfectly aligned or with a gap, tells only a small part of a person's story. And true beauty, that comes from the confidence to own your uniqueness. Chapter 4. What cheek structure reveals. Now let's talk about another physical feature that has sparked its fair share of speculation: cheek structure. For centuries, rounder, fuller cheeks have been associated with youth, vitality, and fertility. But some cultures have taken this idea even further, believing that women with fuller cheeks are more likely to have smaller, more delicate, intimate features. Where did this belief come from? And does it hold any truth? The Stoic view on facial features. The Stoics, always curious about the connections between body and mind, might have found this idea interesting. Not because they believed in the myth itself, but because it reflects a deeper human tendency: our need to find meaning in physical traits. A woman's cheeks, for example, can hint at her health and well-being. Fuller cheeks often give off an impression of youth and vitality, which historically has been associated with fertility. This may have led to the broader assumption that other parts of her body follow the same pattern of refinement or delicacy. Breaking the myth: science versus cultural beliefs. Of course, there's no scientific basis to claim that cheek structure correlates with intimate anatomy. But that hasn't stopped these beliefs from shaping beauty standards and cultural perceptions. In many societies, softer, rounded features are seen as a sign of femininity, while sharper cheekbones are linked to strength and boldness. But here's the truth: no single feature defines a person. Beauty, attraction, and even sexuality are far more complex than any one physical trait. Just like gap teeth, cheek structure is simply one small part of the bigger picture. Do facial features reveal more than we think? We've all heard the saying, "the face is a window to the soul." But what if certain facial features were also believed to hint at more intimate details? One particularly persistent belief is that women with fuller cheeks are thought to have smaller, more delicate, intimate areas. Sounds intriguing, right? But where does this idea come from? The psychology behind the perception. There's no scientific proof to support this claim, yet it has stuck around for generations. Why? Because as humans, we naturally seek patterns. Fuller cheeks give off an impression of softness and balance, traits often associated with femininity, refinement, and control. This has led some to assume that this balance extends to the rest of the body, including intimate anatomy. This belief isn't just a modern quirk. It has shaped beauty ideals for centuries, influencing everything from classical art to social perceptions of attraction. We see it in paintings, sculptures, and even modern media. Women with rounded cheeks are often depicted as delicate, youthful, and traditionally feminine. The influence of symmetry and beauty standards. It all ties back to an even bigger idea: symmetry. Throughout history, symmetry has been linked to beauty, health, and even genetic fitness. When we see a well-balanced facial structure, our brains instinctively assume the rest of the body follows suit. That's why some believe that if a woman's cheeks are full and round, other parts of her body, especially more intimate areas, will be proportionally refined. But here's the reality: while these beliefs may be fascinating, they're nothing more than myths. Every woman's body is unique, and no single feature can define the whole. The Stoics, known for their wisdom and deep observation, would remind us that beauty isn't about assumptions. It's about character, intellect, and how a person carries themselves. The subtle impact of cultural conditioning. Even if we don't consciously subscribe to these beliefs, they still shape our perceptions in subtle ways. From dating preferences to self-esteem, societal ideals of femininity and attraction influence how we view both ourselves and others. The idea that fuller cheeks indicate a smaller intimate area is just another example of how physical traits get linked to broader assumptions, often without any real evidence. At the end of the day, beauty is not a formula, and attraction is far more complex than facial structure. These myths may be interesting to explore, but they should never define how we see ourselves or others. Chapter 5: Slim Women and Body Composition. Now let's dive into another widely held belief, one that has persisted for centuries. There's a common assumption that slim women, with their lean frames and delicate proportions, must also have smaller, more refined, intimate areas. But is there any truth to this? Where this idea comes from? Culturally, slimness has long been associated with youth, beauty, and vitality. Many people assume that a leaner frame naturally means a more compact, refined body overall, including intimate anatomy. This belief has been reinforced over time by beauty standards, media representation, and even psychological biases. From a Stoic perspective, physical traits were often viewed as indicators of balance and health. A slim woman's body, often linked with discipline and restraint, might give the impression that the rest of her physique follows the same pattern: compact, efficient, and refined. But again, this is just another example of our tendency to search for patterns where none necessarily exist. The psychology of slimness and attraction. On a psychological level, our brains are wired to seek consistency. If a woman's body is naturally petite, some assume that every aspect of her physique, including intimate features, must also be proportionally small. But in reality, body composition varies widely, and slimness doesn't necessarily dictate any other physical traits. Modern beauty standards have only amplified this association. In movies, fashion, and media, slim women are often portrayed as the epitome of elegance and refinement. This further cements the idea that their entire physical makeup must reflect those qualities. But just like with fuller cheeks, the reality is far more complex than any stereotype suggests. Breaking the myth. Ultimately, the connection between body size and intimate anatomy is more of a cultural construct than a biological fact. Every woman's body is unique, and attraction is about so much more than proportions. While these myths may persist, it's important to question them rather than let them define our perceptions of beauty and femininity. So, whether a woman is slim, curvy, or somewhere in between, the real takeaway here is this: physical traits tell only a small part of the story. What truly makes someone attractive? Confidence, presence, and the way they carry themselves. And no single feature, whether it's cheek structure, body shape, or anything else, can define that. Do body features reveal more than we think? For centuries, people have searched for hidden meanings in physical traits, trying to connect the dots between outward appearance and more intimate details. One particularly widespread belief: that breast size can hint at other aspects of a woman's body, including her intimate anatomy. The myth: small breasts and intimate anatomy. It's a common assumption. Women with smaller breasts often have leaner, more compact body frames. And from this, another belief has emerged: that their intimate areas must also be smaller or tighter. But is there any truth to this? Or is it just another cultural myth passed down through generations? The Stoic perspective. Beyond appearances. If the Stoic philosophers were here today, they'd likely approach this idea with curiosity, but also skepticism. They believe that while outward appearances might give clues about health or lifestyle, they could never define a person's essence. To them, a woman's character, virtues, and intellect mattered far more than any superficial trait like breast size. And yet, this belief persists. Why? Because we naturally seek patterns. Small breasts are often associated with slimness, youth, and a more refined physique. So, people extend that logic, assuming that body proportions must follow a predictable, uniform pattern, even when there's no scientific basis for it. Cultural ideals and the fixation on size. The connection between breast size and femininity has deep cultural roots. Historically, societies have equated larger body parts, breasts, hips, thighs, with fertility and sensuality, while smaller features are often seen as delicate, refined, and controlled. As a result, women with smaller breasts are sometimes viewed as more reserved, less overtly sexual, and by extension, assumed to have a more compact, intimate anatomy. But here's the reality: no external feature can determine something so personal. Every woman's body is unique, and these assumptions are built more on cultural storytelling than biological truth. The role of beauty trends and media. What's considered ideal has changed over time. In eras that celebrated curvier figures, small-breasted women were often seen as less feminine. But in modern times where slim, toned bodies are widely idealized, small breasts are often associated with elegance and grace. Despite these shifting ideals, one thing remains constant: Society's tendency to make assumptions about women's bodies based on appearance, fashion, media, and even casual social perceptions all play a role in reinforcing these myths, sometimes so subtly that we don't even realize it. Breaking free from superficial judgments. At the end of the day, the Stoics would remind us of a simple truth. A woman is not defined by any one physical trait. Breast size, whether large or small, has no bearing on femininity, sensuality, or overall vitality. These are complex human qualities that go far beyond mere appearance. Instead of getting caught up in myths, we should celebrate the incredible diversity of the human body. A woman's essence isn't found in assumptions about her proportions. It's in her confidence, her presence, and the way she carries herself. Up next, the B-leg theory, another body myth. Speaking of body myths, another lesser-known belief suggests that a woman's leg shape, the so-called B-leg structure, can reveal hidden aspects of her anatomy. But is there any truth to this? Or is it just another example of our tendency to look for patterns where none exist? Let's dive into it next. The B-leg theory, another body myth. Throughout history, people have tried to decode the human body, searching for hidden meanings in every curve and contour. One of the more unusual beliefs, that a woman's leg shape, specifically the so-called B-leg, can reveal details about her intimate anatomy. Yes, you heard that right. Some claim that women with a certain outward curve in their legs, a shape that resembles the letter B when viewed from the front or side, are more likely to have a smaller, more compact, intimate area. But is there any truth to this? Or is it just another example of our tendency to link unrelated physical traits? Breaking down the myth. This belief follows the same pattern as many others we've explored. People love to find connections between outward appearance and deeper physical traits. Just like assumptions based on small noses, slim figures, or breast size, the B-leg theory is rooted in our desire to see symmetry, proportion, and balance as universal indicators of the body's overall structure. The idea goes like this. If a woman's legs appear delicate and refined, then the rest of her body, intimate features included, must be equally compact and structured. But here's the problem. There's no scientific evidence to support this. Why do we believe these things? Our brains are wired to seek patterns. We like to believe that external features can tell a deeper story, even when there's no real connection. In this case, the elegance of the B-leg structure is associated with grace, control, and proportion, which, in turn, fuels the assumption that these women must have similarly refined, intimate anatomy. But let's take a step back. Does leg shape really determine anything beyond, well, leg shape? The Stoics, ever the champions of logic and reason, would have likely been intrigued by this idea, but also quick to dismiss it. They believed that while the body might offer clues about health or lifestyle, true understanding of a person comes from character, virtues, and intellect, not physical traits. The reality: every woman is unique. When it comes down to it, no single body feature can reveal everything about a person. The human body is far too complex to be reduced to simplistic formulas and assumptions. Yet, cultural myths like this persist because they align with long-standing ideals about femininity, refinement, and attraction. Instead of getting caught up in these superficial judgments, the Stoics would encourage us to look deeper, to value what truly defines a person beyond just appearances. A woman's body is multifaceted, unique, and deeply personal, and no amount of pattern-seeking can capture the full depth of her individuality. Final thoughts. Question everything. So, what can we take from all of this? First, a reminder to think critically about the beliefs we accept without question. Society has long tried to make sense of women's bodies through myths and assumptions. But just because a belief is popular doesn't make it true. If there's one lesson to carry forward, it's this. True beauty isn't about fitting a specific mold. It's about confidence, strength, and authenticity. Whether a woman has small breasts, gap teeth, B-legs, or any other distinguishing feature, these are just parts of her physical form, not the essence of who she is. Let's keep the conversation going. If you found this discussion interesting, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever heard of the B-leg theory before? Or do you know of any other strange body-related myths? Let's talk about it. Thank you for watching, and until next time, stay curious, stay critical, and most importantly, stay you.